I just returned from a 3-day trip to Florida, where I helped run a student leadership conference. One of my latest projects has been building a national pre-health society for Jewish undergraduates, offering them mentorship, internships, peer networking, research projects, and other career preparedness tools, all predicated on Jewish values and connection. The conference was magical. We convened 34 student leaders from 23 campuses, an amazingly impressive and ambitious group of young men and women. One philanthropist who met our group, an 83-year-old veteran community activist who has spoken with thousands of college students over the decades, told us this was the most remarkable bunch he has ever encountered. This week, we introduce Aaron, the high priest, lighting the menorah. Many of the commentaries note the unusual word choice of Behalotcha. Rashi, quoting the Talmud, explains, he is required to kindle the lamp until the flame rises by itself. In other words, the flame must not only be lit, but it must be self-sustaining, independent of the igniting agent. A flame represents the soul of every Jew. The candle of God is the soul of man. And as such, the Talmud's teaching can be understood as a primer on how best to educate and inspire those in our sphere of influence. The goal of education, we learn, is not simply to convey information or even to prompt specific behaviors. Rather, it is to engender self-sufficiency and independent action in the student. As parents or mentors, our goal is to render ourselves superfluous. The greatest joy of a parent, for example, is hearing that your child has perpetuated your values without your being present or even aware. One of the first teachings in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, instructs us to stand up many students. Tosfot Yom Tov, among other commentaries, explains that the unusual wording of this exhortation means we must help our charges stand on their own 2 feet. It is not enough to educate. We must hold our flame to another's wick until the latter has fully kindled. Shortly before COVID commenced, we ran our annual Poland heritage trip. The students were feeling quite inspired, and one of my colleagues suggested that they accept a steady commitment to capture and sustain their heightened sense of Jewish enthusiasm. The students decided to wrap tefillin daily or light Shabbat candles each week, and to post selfies on a WhatsApp group to hold each other accountable. Almost every day since then, my phone has pinged with these spiritual selfies, testaments to each student's personal, self-sustaining drive. Likewise, what excites me about the students we gathered in Florida is that each of them is poised to return to his or her respective campus and pass forward the energy of our conference to their peers. If we were successful in activating these young leaders to the degree that their own enthusiasm carries through and they build their own chapters, then we will have fulfilled our mandate to ignite enduring new flames. All of us are teachers, whether as parents, colleagues, or formal educators. And so these lessons apply. But I also believe that as students, we would be wise to consider the way we engage Torah knowledge. Am I passively consuming information as a curiosity without assimilating it into my being? Or am I pursuing wisdom with an eye towards mastery and self-reliance? We must be willing to hold ourselves to this elevated standard, ensuring that as we learn, we also grow, until ultimately we can stand on our own. Shabbat Shalom.